What's going on, everybody? Today I have a very, very special guest, man. Uncle D, Uncle Dennis Sperling, attorney at law. Yes, I told y'all folks, man, I like to get, man, qualified, man, and man, been, let's say, validated USDA, whatever you want to call it, individuals, but in here to have these type of discussions. Uncle D, what's going on?
Hey man, it's everything's going great, man. I'm just happy to be on your show today. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Most definitely, man. Uncle D, I don't want to waste no time. I want to get right into it. The topic today is a male public service announcement. And
Male,
why why I put it out there? I don't know, maybe for shock value, man. Because when people scroll down, man, the iPod list, I was like, I want to see that. But the thing is that as we were talking off wax, there are many things that we feel like young brothers as well as older brothers are missing as far as, man, the required information to just live in this society today. Especially when it comes to finances, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to self-worth. Their own ideas about what it is to be a man in these days. So I've checked out your podcast. I've checked out a lot of your stuff on Strength, man. I mean, you hitting it hard. So tell us about yourself, Uncle D.
well, I mean, I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I was born and raised in South Central LA at the height of the drug and gang epidemic. So a lot of the issues that I have to face back then, a lot of young men are still facing now. But I managed to get out of it. I managed to, at some point, recognize that there was a lot of deficiencies in my own understanding about who I am and who I am expected to be as a man. That kind of triggered me to write books and I analyzed my own life. But fortunately for me, I did have some very strong male role models in my life, and that's helped me either taken away from them to become a better father, or not done what they did to become a better father. But in being a father, it has forced me to look at the condition of African-American men in this country with new eyes. And so at some point, I realized I had to start speaking. I was actually about maybe 2016, I was sitting on the side of a hill overlooking the ocean in the Caribbean. I had a beautiful house, a beautiful woman cooking and cleaning for me every day. I was getting fat. And but my spirit was disturbed.
Okay.
Because I realized that even though I had made it, quote unquote, my black brothers in the United States still were suffering. This was at the height where every week we seemed like every week a black man was being shot down for police by the cops, and then you would always hear about Chicago, 30 people killed this weekend in Chicago, 50 people shot this weekend in Chicago, and it just kind of compelled me to begin to speak and open my page up, my Facebook page, my private Facebook page up as a forum for black men to speak. And so I began to listen. So from about 2016 to even currently, black men from all across the world, right now we're about 15,000 deep. They just come on my page and they talk about issues they're facing. And at that point, it began to raise their awareness and their voice. As I stated, I'm an attorney, so I have a lot of politicians, a lot of news pundits, people that you would be shocked that follow my page just to see what's going on. It's really like the heart of the streets, and it's a place where brothers can come and speak and be open and not feel like they're being shamed or guilty for their thoughts and their perspective on life. So, it's been a good thing, man, but that's kind of how I fell into this. There was the impulse, and then there was the drive, and then I opened up the format and made a sacrifice. Now, there's been some repercussions. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that really don't want to hear what black men have to say, and so because it's painful, and some people who are lovely sisters don't want to hear what they've done. They don't want to take that criticism, but unfortunately, it's enough blame to go around. We have our own share of issues as men, but it's been for the past, I would say 400 years, our issues have been aired out. We all know what we've done, but what about everybody else around us to cause us to be in this condition? So,
right.
Now they're having an opportunity to speak, but that's it, brother. That's my intro, man.
So, man,
Yes,
What
sir.
are some of the most glaring issues you mentioned that are affecting African American men right now that you've seen, that you like, okay, I'm about to attack that right now? What are some of the things that you've seen most glaring?
A lot of our brothers have, they've been socialized by women. So they have
Okay.
coping skills. They have female coping skills instead of male coping skills.
Uh-oh.
So they deal with issues when confronted like a female would.
Mhm.
Um, that means instead of being cool, being collected, being logical, they explode. They get emotional in relationships. Their woman argues with them, but instead of just remaining silent, being cool, and trying to assess what's wrong with her, they argue back.
Mhm.
Instead of she calls him a name, he calls her a name. That's what women do. Men don't operate like that.
Right.
You find yourself in a situation where you need to go tit for tat with your woman, that just means you're not ready for that relationship.
Mm.
That means you picked the wrong woman, but it's still on you. That's the main thing. How we deal with issues in the public. We're emotional. We do it just like our mothers do.
Mm.
We do what they do. We've been taught to do that. And even men like me who are masculine and strong and hardworking, there's still some missing data in there because we didn't pick it up as boys. We
Right.
weren't bred with that. We had to learn it at an older age. And
Mm.
so I'm still constantly developing myself as a man, and I'm making sure I weed all of this out in my own sons, even if it means surrounding them by other strong men who may have these traits. I take them to martial arts, so they get yelled at, they get screamed at,
Right.
they get punched, they get kicked. So what that does is teaches them to respond without emotions. I force them to excel beyond their days. I'm making my 11-year-old son memorize graduate level words from the GRE,
Mhm.
500 soon, but I'm paying them for it. You got to pay these kids. Um, but these sort of things are our main issue is how we see the world, our perspective. And oftentimes we rather be the victims instead of the victors
Mm.
because that's how we were trained. Women seek out protection. They seek out victimhood because it allows people to come to them and give them attention. Men are supposed to be victors. We're conquerors.
Exactly. Yeah.
We have a lot of anxiety and fear associated with failure as opposed to allowing the drive to succeed overtake that fear of failure. We succumb. And I know that's a bit esoteric, but generally speaking, that's the issue. Now, if you want to, how does that manifest? Well, it manifests because we don't know how to deal with stress. We end up smoking weed and using drugs and
Right. Yeah.
abusing alcohol and abusing food. We don't feel like we're successful. We don't feel like we have any power. So
Mhm.
what we do is we take the power that we do have that's given to us by biology and we go out and make a bunch of babies, so that we can
True.
feel important. And so, it's not all black men, and really the percentages are like this. 51% of black men don't even have children. 31% of black men don't have children and are not married. 31% of black men are married with children. So that leaves about 18%, give or take two. So we'll say about 20% of black men are the ones having the children and not married. And so, um, that's an issue. But there's so many issues that we can address. But again, I'm not here to criticize my brothers. I'm just here to
Right.
point out from a place of love. I love
Right.
you. I know what you're dealing with. It's not for other people to jump on and start bashing us because despite all of that, we still are and we still are considered the best fathers here in the United States.
Mm.
December 2015, the CDC said that black men are the most involved fathers of any other. So despite all those other issues that we have, we're still trying. We have
Right.
more black men in college than we do in prison.
Okay.
We have a large percent of black men in the middle class. There's just so many other things, all that we've had to overcome. And I tell people all the time, black men did slavery by ourselves. It wasn't until 1808 that they start bringing black women and girls over because
Mm.
the slave trade was outlawed. The intercontinental slave trade was outlawed.
Right.
But before that, there was never any desire to have a black a black population here in the United States or even in the Western world. They would work us to death. They would kill us. Those boats were filled up with black men and black boys. They work us to death. we die, they replace us. You see, it wasn't until 1808, a little over 50 years before slavery ended here in the United States, that they start bringing black women in and having breeding farms. That's why we went from 400,000 slaves in 1808 to 4 million African American or African slaves in 1860, right before the Civil War started. So, you know, we have overcome a big burden. I love my brothers. I want to see them succeed. I'm not here to bash my brothers. I'm definitely not one of these simps that get on here, you know, trying to appease women. I don't do that. That goes against who I am as a man and as a father. So, you know.
You said, man, Unc, you said a whole lot of that one, right? That you said a whole lot. I mean, so let me, as they said, let me unpack a little bit of it. It's funny because one thing you mentioned was along the lines of social emotional learning.
Yeah.
And when they're discussing about, you know, what trauma is these days. 'Cause as a therapist, I hear about that all the time, you know, about trauma. We didn't hear about it a lot like that 20 years ago, you know, or 30, but nowadays it's the sexy topic about this is why your kids are acting like they are acting right now, is because of all the trauma of the inner city and the things that are going on in their lives. And there's all this type of data that goes on that they say supports the ideas of why we are the way we are, you know.
Mm.
And it's a narrative, you know, and so it's almost, you know, kind of, you know, eschewing us into what you were talking about earlier, as far as that, you know, feminine coping type of situation where it's like, okay, here, you cope like this. This is how you're supposed to act. This is how you're supposed to process this type of information. But again, like it goes back to what you were saying before, we've been conquerors. You know, our DNA, man, pretty much puts inside of us that we are supposed to, you know, be outgoing, that we are supposed to go out there and take charge and do what we're supposed to do in these given moments and seasons. However, you know, that's not being perpetuated. That narrative is not being told today. And that's unfortunate. Where do we go? How do we get a generation that sometimes I call a little bit moist, you know, to kind of like ramp back around the other way or so? Because, I mean, what do we do?
I love these young people. You know, Generation Z, especially these millennials, the alphas coming up under Generation Z. You know, we call them a little moist, but you really got to look. They are the most turned up generation that we've had in years. We look at
Okay.
what they're doing in Georgia for George Floyd. They are out there.
Right.
You know, they are doing something. I love them. I respect them. Skinny jeans, emotional, all the alphabets they got behind their names, all that. They still are out there.
Okay.
They have that fire in them. You know, they are beautiful young people. You know, but what it needs is they need to be properly trained and
Yeah.
educated as to what their goals should be. And they should always remember, no matter what part of the world you're from, no matter what your accent, your language, you're black, you're African, a child of Africa. You are a great people. You see, you have to recognize that that's where it starts. Knowing some of your history, and I'm not saying that they have to be on the levels of Dr. John Henry Clark, but what I'm saying is they need to know who they are so that they can take pride in that and know that Africans had circumscribed this globe before any other group of people on this planet. And also the great minds that came before them, they need to know, because they can draw from that. They can draw strength and power from that. They can draw pride and dignity from that. That's the basics. And then also understand that there's nothing new under the sun.
True.
There's always going to be a suppressor. There's always going to be an oppressor.
Right.
You ask the Chinese, they say we've had hundreds or dozens of dynasties here. Right now, we are on the dynasty of white supremacy racism. But that does not stop you from being African American, a descendant of a great continent of people who had invented mathematics and science and built great buildings and had ruled the world for 80,000 years before the first European came over. I often ask my sons, I say, well, look, son, white folks have ruled the world for 500 years. Black folks ruled the world for 80,000 years. Would you trade with them? And they said, no. I said, right. You don't want to trade $500 for $80,000, would you? That's a fool's bet. So
Right.
I said, what you have to do as a black man is you have to get back to yourself. And it starts with us. See, I love my brothers, but I put pressure on my brothers to be better men. You have to be the moral compass of your family. You have to be the rock in the family. You have to be the mountain. You have to be that one, and everybody else revolves around you. And I know that's a bit patriarchal, and I'm sure there's some people on your podcast would say, "Oh, he's a patriot, he's a toxic masculinity," something
Yeah,
like that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's gonna come.
Yeah, but the thing is, those same ladies will appreciate men like me telling these other men to be better men, to be moral, be upright, to be strong when necessary, to be understanding, to be loving, to care for your children. It's okay to be openly, to hug your sons and say, "Son, I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm strong." That's something that a lot of us didn't get. We didn't get that validation from our fathers to
Right.
let us know I'm okay. Our daughters, they didn't get that validation from their fathers to say, "You're okay. You're validated." Instead, a lot of these sisters, like Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, they got it on a stripper pole. They were told that they were validated by the dollars they received. Oh, I must be okay. I got $5,000 tonight. Oh, I must be good. I got more money than the rest of these women. I must be beautiful. As opposed to having a father at home telling her every day, "You're beautiful, you're loved, you're appreciated." See, so, and for those of us, myself included, ventured off to the strip club every now and then back in the day. That's also my responsibility. So now we can't then turn around and blame folks like Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B for doing what we were talking about we were doing in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Oh, we were tipping. I mean, there's a rapper back in the day, I forget the brother's name. He had a song called Tip Drill, Nelly from the Loop.
Yeah.
So how can you now be mad at the girl saying, "Well, yeah, I was one of the recipients of those tips. Let me tell you what I did with the money, or let me tell you how I got it." So they're telling their stories too. You see what I'm saying? So you know, as at this age, man, you know, I can sit back and see the whole picture.
Okay.
I can sit back and see the whole picture. And just because I'm an advocate for my black brothers, it doesn't mean I don't see the errors that we have and the things that we need to correct. Whatever your religious take is, whatever your spirituality is, you need to be the moral leader of your family. In other words, what that means is you can't be out there cheating on your wife or your girlfriend.
Right.
You can't be around here cussing her out and calling her names and then expect her not to do the same. You see what I mean? You need to set the example. And if you got a group of women, if you got a woman that won't follow that example, then you need to get you another woman. You see what I mean, bro? Hard-headed, man. No, you need to get another woman. You can't change her. Go find you another woman. And oftentimes that means finding another woman from a different culture.
Okay, stop right there because I want to get right into that. Because I know, man, you speak a lot about that, man, about traveling and broaden your mind and your horizons on that. But as an attorney, I know I'm sure you're familiar with family law practices, and man, how that affects brothers when it comes to when they do decide I'm going to find another person. The statistics say that, man, it takes 3 to 5 years for a male to recover after somewhat of a divorce. And so my thing is that, you know, I mean, we can go.
I can testify to that. Hallelujah.
Hey,
Amen.
I'm right here with you. And so my point is that, you know, it's easier said than done. Sometimes, a lot of times, males aren't in the position, you know, to kind of like make those calls because of the situations that they're in financially, spiritually, socially, as well as family wise. Or so then again, they stay in those systems and it just becomes, man, you know, one dumping on another, you know, until finally somebody just says, "Look, I'm just going to go for it. I'm out."
Yeah. There's a reason why so many black men and men in general are walking away from society, because society has basically treated men unfairly.
Okay.
You get married, you're all in love, and then next thing you know, there's a likelihood that your wife, if there's a divorce that's going to be filed, she's 70% more likely to file for a divorce than you are.
Yeah.
And if she does, there's a monetary incentive there for her to gain even from the divorce. So she can leave you. She gets half the proceeds that's earned during the marriage, plus the proceeds or half the proceeds from the house. And then also she gets a monthly stipend in the form of child support if you have children. And in some states, they get alimony. And some, in like California, they get lifetime alimony if they're married more than 10 years. So, you know, for instance, Dr. Dre, I've never heard of his wife before, but apparently she's a co-owner of his stage name, or at least allegedly his stage name. She owns the rights to all that Death Row music and Aftermath music. I'm like, I didn't even know she you know, made one beat.
Right.
You know, that's the way the laws are set up. But Dr. Dre himself apparently has had a prenuptial agreement in place, so that kind of protects him. Now, let me say this: I understand the issues facing. Well, the family law scheme is definitely tilted in favor of men.
Okay.
That said, I still support stable families,
Right.
marriage. I want to see Black men married. I think that's a better condition for us as an individual. It makes you a better man.
Okay.
I do tell you, brothers, is choose wisely. Not every woman will do. You understand that? Not every woman is good enough for you. Not every woman deserves your time and your attention, and definitely not your resources. I'm telling you to raise your standards. Write down a list of things you don't like. You don't like tattoos? Don't deal with women with tattoos. You don't like women who are overweight? Don't deal with women who are overweight. I'm just saying, be honest with yourself. You know, don't just be willing to don't be willing to just have, you know, a superficial physical relationship with anything moving just because you leave in the club and it's 2:30 and that's the last train smoking. Don't do that.
No, hold up, Uncle D, on that last one now, because you know we're in more of a socially sensitive generation, and so now that would be called fat shaming if a person was overweight.
Okay. What about short man shaming? What about bald head man shaming? What about dark skinned man shaming? What about light skinned man shaming?
That's true. That's true.
You know what I'm saying? What about you from the country shaming? I'm from the city shaming. I mean,
Right.
we can label it what we want to label, but it's not going to change the fact that you are not going to be aroused by a woman that you don't find attractive. And if you find a woman who's heavy set, obese, unattractive, then that's just what it is. We don't have to call it shaming. I'm just saying I'm not attracted to you, ma'am.
Wow, I like that. It's just like I'm not attracted
so I'm not
to you.
waste my time forcing myself to try to be physically attracted to you when I'm not. No different than women who say, you know what, I'm not attracted to him. He's too short. His wallet is too small. I'm not attracted to him. Do we shame them? Financial shaming? Do we do that? Yes, women do all the time. He needs 6 figures, a 6-pack, all this and that.
Yeah.
You shaming me, I'm gonna shame you back. It's part of your condition. Get over it. You know, there's some of this stuff that we have going on right now is gonna wash away. You know, like it's gonna wash away when reality hits some of these young people. When you get out there and you get a job and you realize, damn, I can't get a job because I weigh 280 pounds and I don't look good in the company. So I don't get that halo effect. You know, good-looking people have something called a halo effect. They get benefits. They are deemed to be more intelligent just because they're good-looking. They call it pretty girl privilege. Something she get in the club. She can go to the club without an ID, without a wallet, and let's see what else. All she needs is some heels and a skirt on, and she can get in there and spend no money, right? With you and me, oh man, we are big tricking all night, man. We popping bottles, and you know, and then still got to leave it too. You see what I mean?
Right. True.
She gets invited to the after party with the artists. That's pretty girl privilege. So what I'm saying is that beautiful people, attractive people have privileges. They get their choice in mates. They get the privileges that society has to offer. Same thing with men with money. You got some money, you're gonna get some privileges. You're gonna get the beautiful women in your life. Hell, you might not be able to articulate a sentence, but at some point, somebody's gonna say, well, I'm gonna give him a chance because he's got everything else going on. So I understand these young folks are like, oh, fat shaming. That just, you don't like it because it makes you feel uncomfortable. It means that you have to change. I get it. You understand? Hey, I used to get shamed from being from the hood. I'm from the hood before the hood was considered posh.
A badge of honor.
Yeah. Thugging was not. I had women when I was in the 1990s. I had women that wouldn't talk to me because I lived on the wrong side of La Brea Boulevard. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
They wasn't coming over there. I get it. I understand. But see, now it's kind of fashionable. But see, it's a different kind of thugging that I was observing. You know, it wasn't regal. It wasn't popularized. So you could say I was hood shamed. You see what I mean? But just like that, things change. The truth is, you can't make somebody be attracted to you that's not attracted to you.
That's right.
So you stop that. You know, it's just not going to happen. People want to be able to, they want to be able to do what they want to do, and they don't want you to tell them they can't do it. That's childish. There's some things in society you can't do. If you want to just do whatever you want to do, then go live in the woods with the bears and the squirrels, and you can be just who you want to be. Okay? That's the grown-up conversation that I shouldn't have to have with folks. Okay? You can't do everything that you want to do. That is not how society is built. That's from Uncle D.
Ladies and gentlemen, Uncle D, everybody. Now,
Yeah.
Uncle D, along that same line, there's something that you are very much an advocate of. It's brothers traveling. You know, you've been all over the world. I mean, from
Yeah,
some of the
man.
things I've seen on your podcast, and I even last year before COVID, I started to make my own track. And I mean,
Right.
it's something out there.
Brother,
Tell
you
us about
free.
that.
You're free, man. You're a free man. You're a free man.
Mhm.
You're not a slave anymore. You are free. If some of our black brothers and sisters, we still in slavery. They benefit from telling you that. They keep you afraid. Our ancestors would be pissed off if they heard us saying that we are slaves still. And let me get up close to your camera.
Okay.
They were beaten, they were raped, men and women. They had no rights at all. They couldn't even leave plantations. They had the children stripped away from them at young ages. They had the husbands and so-called wives, because they really weren't even allowed to get married, taken away from them.
Right.
You have access to computers in the form of cell phones that have more information, that can hold more information than society has ever been able to create in data form in the past 10,000 years that we've been openly aware of knowledge as it's kept.
Okay.
We can get on an airplane and be anywhere in the world in less than half a day.
Yeah.
And we say we're slaves. That's disrespectful to what our ancestors had to deal with. And so shame on you for saying that, and shame on you people who are still pushing that bullshit ass line. Excuse me for cussing, bro. But
You all right? You all right?
But the bottom line is, man, this whole world is yours, brother. You did your time here in the United States. You don't owe this country anything. You don't owe anybody who wants to keep you here permanently anything. You have the right to see what this world has to offer. This whole world belongs to you.
Right.
This whole world was yours before it was anybody else's. The European just popped up 6 months ago. 8,000 years ago. You've been here for a million years.
Mm-hmm.
Asians are descended from the Africans. The Arabs are descended from the Africans. You were on this planet before anybody else touched this earth. Yes, you originated in Africa, but you have a right to every crack and corner in this country, in this world, and you have a right to go see it.
Right.
Everything in this world belongs to you. You are free to do that. And so my whole philosophy to these brothers is they're free. And here's the other thing. A lot of you all want to keep these black men here, and they don't want to be here. They telling you, I don't want to be here. I'm not getting married. I'm not going to church. I'm not going to school. I don't want to work. I don't want to do anything. I want to leave. Let people go who don't want to be with you. And it's hard for a lot of ladies to realize that you can't make them be with you if they don't want to be with you. You see? And so I tell brothers all the time, okay, if you want black women, there's black women all over the earth. And the first thing I hear, what about the black women in America? What about us? Ladies, you free to go too. You free to travel, see the world, and see what it has to offer for you too. We're all free. But I just happen to focus on black men because black women are always told, you free, black girl magic. You do whatever you want to do, girl. You amazing, girl. But brothers are told, no, you stay here and be our workhorses and our mules. And our sperm donors, whenever we're ready to come pick you up at 35 and 40, when we get 2 kids, 3 kids, and we're going to come pick you up, and then you come take care of us for the rest of our lives and be our emotional tampons, and and I'm telling brothers, because I damn sure wouldn't tell my sons that.
That's right.
I tell my sons all the time, man, you're free to do whatever you want to do. This world is yours. I work hard just so you can have that freedom. I take my children with me on these vacations when I go places. I take them around the world so they can see how it is to be treated well with respect when they go other places. Not because just merely because they're men, they get treated differently when they're in cultures that uplift men.
Gotcha.
They recognize that early on, like, wow, and when we go here, we go there, the women and the people, they treat us with so much respect just because we're boys. Yeah. And that's because they have a social contract. A social contract that says, as a man, you get treated a certain way, solely because you're a man. Because we expect you to be the leaders of the family when you grow up. So we're going to cater to you, and we're going to cook for you, and we're going to treat you nice, and we're going to tell you you're amazing and you're strong, and we're going to empower you. So that when you get to the point where you're 18 and 19 years old, you'll naturally run into that role. And they have the women who cook and clean and cater to these boys. But then when these boys get 18, 19 years old, they take a wife. And they keep doing that role. They keep saying, I'm empowered. I'm a man. It's my job to cook. It's my job to work hard and take care of all the bills and pay the rent and protect the family. This is my job. This is how I was raised. On the flip side, you got African-American boys, all we do is shit on them. We tell them they ain't gonna be nothing. We tell them they're not this. We tell them they're not that. We tell them they're inadequate. And then when they get 18, we say, get on out there and be a man. Get on out there and protect me. Get on out there and do what the rest of these men are doing. But we haven't raised them up and treated them like the rest of these countries, the rest of these cultures are treating their men. And you wonder why you have a deficiency in the Black American community as far as men. We didn't raise these boys to be the men that we expect them to be. We just get on out there and say, boy, get paid. That's all we say. Get on out there and get paid. Next thing you know, they're doing crazy, taking graveyard century chances. They go to jail, then they get out of jail, and their mama don't want to let them live in the house anymore. Now that's why you got so many young Black men who are homeless, because they have nowhere else to go.
Two things before, man, we get on out of here. One is something you just said, and you were talking about basically we get picked up when they're 35 years old and it's like 2 kids right there. And I say to myself, there's a lot of truth to that.
The sisters, they pretty much get to do what they want to do. They always have. It's a benefit given to Black women in the United States, and they know it. That's why you have the most educated group in America is Black women. But then on the flip side, you got the most, illiterate group of young boys, and 5-year-olds, 6-year-old, 10-year-old kids, boys can't read. How can you have one child in the family?
Wow.
The most educated and the other one most potentially going to prison.
Illiterate. Yeah, that don't make sense. Something's off with that one. Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Unless Malcolm X said this, if y'all playing the same game, y'all in the same card game, and this one is doing that much better than you, then the deck is rigged. Malcolm said that. So what are we doing for our little Black girls that we're not doing for our little Black boys, and they're growing up in the same houses and the same cultures?
That's right.
We're taking away from these Black boys. We're purposely keeping these Black boys down. And so when they get 18, 19, 20, you wonder why they decide, you know what, I survived. They didn't get raised. They survived relationships. And so then that's why you have so many Black men marrying out. 30% of Black men, once they get the opportunity after they get the education, they marry out. Because when they see women that remind them of the women in their lives that they grew up with, I'm talking about non-sexual relationships. I'm talking about the relationships they had with their grandmas and their mamas and sisters, the disrespect, the girls they went to school with in elementary school. They say they don't want to have no parts of that. So the more money you get, the more options you have. So they go find women from different cultures, oftentimes Black women from different cultures. They get women from the continent.
Yeah.
The sisters from the West Indies, sisters from the Caribbean, sisters from South America. And some may marry women from other races, white, Black, Hispanic, whatever, white. But I tell these brothers, you have a right to peace of mind and happiness. And you can find it wherever you can find it, you go with it. You don't owe anybody anything. You did your time. As I explained earlier, we did slavery by ourselves. We did our time. We paid our penance. I don't know what we did to end up in that. We did our time, you see? And a lot of people don't like me telling Black men to be free. They don't like that at all. They like, no, you are free. My brothers are free. They are children of God. This whole world belongs to them. They are free. And that's why brothers come to my page, because I talk to them like their daddy should have talked to them if they had one. Boy, you free. You don't let women tell you what to do. That's the first damn thing. You don't let no other man tell you what to do. You do what's best for yourself, and I'm going to love you I'm going to love you no matter what, and I'm going to support you 100% because you are mine. That's what your daddy was supposed to tell you, but a lot of us didn't get that. It takes a lot of strength to be a man and stand up on your own and stand on your own square and say, you know what? I'm going to do what the hell I want to do. This is my life. I got one life to live. It's not a dress rehearsal. I don't care what anybody else thinks. So you fellas, you find you nice ladies that's going to treat you with respect and love you and not cuss you out and call you names and call you itch-ass ninjas and punk-ass ninja and this, all that. You don't need that. You don't deserve that. All the men are being abused. You know that they say 50% of the domestic violence is coming from women.
Yeah.
Emotions abuse.
Right.
And stuff. And they make fun of it. They think it's fun. You don't deal with that. You are somebody's son. You are a precious human being. How many black men have been told that you are precious and you are worthy? See, I can say that at this age.
Yeah,
I
not
can reach
many.
back and say that to a young
Right.
man who's in his teens and 20s. Son, you are precious. You are loved. You don't let people put their hands on you and call you names. You don't deserve that. And you don't let anybody treat you like that. And I'm not saying hit back. I'm saying leave. The best thing you can do when you're dealing with a woman like that is divest yourself, divest her of your attention, and you walk away. Because it's a no-win situation if you get to striking back. It's a no-win situation if you get to calling her names back. You still gonna be a beast. You still gonna be the monster. You leave her. And if she try to do something to your property, you make sure you get a police report and make sure they put her under the jail. That's what you do. And sue her and teach her a lesson. Because you are worthy, you are validated, you are loved, and brothers need to be told that every day. And that's to counteract some of the horrible things that they've had to deal with. I know. I've heard the stories on my page.
Mm-hmm.
You see, women leaving their sons up at the one boy said his mama left him at the football stadium in Detroit and told him, "Ninja, make your way home best you can." He was 8 years old.
Damn.
Another woman, and then before you ladies say, "Well, I don't know what kind of women you dealing with," y'all, same culture to produce y'all, produce them. This is what these boys are dealing with. This is what happens when you have an unprotected group in society. Human beings will take advantage. They will use them as emotional pincushions when she having a bad day because her new man got caught cheating or her check is late or because she's stressed out about something at the job. She's going to take it out on this young boy. And there's no man in the house to say, "Hey, chill, baby. Don't do that to the children. You need to relax." You see, she takes it out on what's available. Look at the child abuse statistics from our sisters to our boys. And our daughters too. The daughters are catching hell from these moms too. There's no balance in the household. So, man, it's a lot we can dissect, man. But again, man, I'm an advocate for black men. Sisters have their own advocates, and I'm just one of a few men who just decided, you know what, I have less time in front of me than I have behind me. So let me try to speak up for these young brothers. And I don't I don't consider myself a leader. I'm just a path finder. Here's a path where you can take, young brother. And I'm also a father. I got 3 black sons. You see, my sons' mothers are black. You see, so I'm concerned about them. There's no escape from them. No matter how much money I make, I got a case that's probably gonna settle for about $250 million, class action suit. And hell, I'd be gone if I wanted to be. But that's not gonna help my sons escape.
That's right.
And the thing you ladies got to realize is when you talk bad about us, the media picks up on that. Why you think they so quick to shoot these black men down like dogs? Because you've been talking about them like dogs. If our own mothers and sisters and wives and girlfriends and aunties and grandmothers talk about us like dogs, why should the main society respect us?
Right. It's true.
Why should they? There's no reason for them. Our own people that's supposed to love us the most talk bad about. Hell, black men talk bad about black men. That's another thing we need to cut out. So yeah, brother, it's a lot, man. It's a lot to squeeze in a little short period of time.
I know, man, dude. I know. Last but not least, you hear a lot about, man, traditional values within relationships as far as what men provide. And you have this current climate that we have right now. Sometimes when I'm looking at that situation, I'm like, that's not probable because the soil and the environment doesn't sustain that type of traditional pathway when it comes to our American society or something like that.
Right.
So my thing is, Uncle D, what can brothers do right now to kind of like help themselves navigate this? Because it's not going to change overnight and it's not ever going to be where it was before.
No.
And so what can they do to help themselves in moments like these?
Well, brother, the factory jobs are gone. You can no longer just get a high school diploma and be able to support a family for 30, 40 years.
Right.
Probably not going to get retirement. Most of you young people have multiple jobs. You got this hustle, that hustle.
Yes.
And, you having to piece together some sort of financial stability just to make it. You see, many of us did not have a situation where we were bequeathed some generational wealth.
Yes.
You don't have parents who left life insurance policies.
Yeah.
trust funds. We don't have any of that. And so we kind of just have to deal with it. Now, the truth is, there's always been a certain group of men in any society who are not going to reproduce, I think to the tune of about 30%. But as I said earlier, it's 51% of black men who are not married, who don't have any children. So that's increasing. But for those of you who don't, who want to get married and have children, let me say this. I want you brothers to get married. I want you to have children. Being a father has made me a better man. Ideally, I want you to marry black women. I would love for you to find you a sister and be with, but if that's not the case, that's fine with me too. All I'm saying is I accept that for you. You know, I'm not here to tell you not to, but ideally you would want to have a sister in your life because y'all can identify a little bit more. And even if the sister's not from the US, if she's a black woman, you're gonna have some commonality, you see? But you know, man, it's hard for me too. You know, it's hard for me too. I tried traveling overseas and I like that, but they got some funky laws over there too, man. You see what I'm saying? Colombia's kind of funky too, and they all catching up with this system.
Wow.
Because you know we're coming into a situation in this world where technology has allowed for women to truly be equal, and they're going to begin to take over prominent positions, and things are going to change, and it's not going to go back to the same. So the roles that men traditionally played are just not going to be there anymore.
Right.
You know, women don't need you like they used to need you to kill off all the wolves and coyotes and bears and tigers. They don't need you like that, and then you're just gonna have to accept that. Crazy, interestingly, I should say, is black men are the most suited for this new society that we have burgeoning.
How so?
Because we have been raised by women, we are more likely to defer to women. We are more egalitarian would be the word. And so that's why oftentimes when these brothers travel, these women from other countries pick us up so quick. Like, oh my God, you mean he helps wash dishes? You mean he will make his own bed? You mean I don't have to bring him coffee every morning in the bed? And I don't have to give sex to him on demand, and he's nice and he talks nice to me and these sort of things. You'd be surprised what these other cultures require of their women. Yes, they give them a lot. They give them protection and that, but they're not as egalitarian as Black American society.
Right.
Even whites, you know, even how they get down. I mean, if you ever just kind of dug into the relationships that white Americans have amongst themselves, it's very interesting. It's a lot of belittling going on. It's a lot of medication being taken.
Oh yes.
You see, if you go look into Russia, those Russian men are very brutal towards their women. You see, they don't hold back. You know, we know about Asians and even some African brothers and Caribbean brothers is not quite as docile as we are. You see, we soft. And so we make good mates. And I'm just pointing out what I've observed. They love black men for that reason, Black American men specifically. So, but I say all that to say things are changing. You know, you're in a situation where two people have to work, so you can't expect her to work as hard as you, and then the ones that are making more money than you telling her what to do? What? Yeah. You make $45,000 a year, and I make $150,000. You can't get her to come home cooking and cleaning, barefoot and pregnant. Get out of here, man. Y'all go broke. You see what I mean? So you got to just keep it. You know, back in the day, we say, yeah, keep it real with yourself, man.
Right.
You see, but the other thing is, a lot of ladies, the more money they make, they want a man that makes more money.
True.
I'm like, look, you got to explain it to them, baby. Look, you make $130,000 a year. You already in the top 3% of men.
Right.
So you want a man that makes $300,000? You're going to have some baggage to come with that. You're going to have kids. You might have a wife. You know what I'm saying? He might be a lot older than you. So you can't have the 26-year-old man who's mature and strong and all that who makes $330,000 a year. And you might get your athlete, but this contract is going to be up, and his major agent and manager and tax, the IRS is going to take most of that. So what you're going to end up in 5 or 6 years is a broken man that has no education. You see? So leave them babies alone. But again, it's a balancing act. You know, you got to find what works for you. I'm blessed enough that, you know, I've been working and, you know, I've done well for myself, and I can have a woman who can be traditional, you see? But see, I'm 46. My lady's in her 20s, you know?
Gotcha.
You see what I mean?
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I can do that. I can do that because I'm one of those guys, you see? And I I made my mistakes, girl. I got married, loved my ex-wife to death. I don't have nothing bad to say about her. Oh, God bless her. She's a wonderful human being. I don't have nothing bad to say at all.
Hint,
She
hint.
tell her lawyer, I said, I don't have nothing bad to say. But there's a reason I'm divorced. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
The reason my wife, my soon-to-be wife, you know, is significantly younger than I am. You know,
Gotcha.
she's from American, but she's born in the U.S., but she's from her parents are from a different culture. She's Afro-Latina. You see,
Okay.
um, and I was pretty much born American. You know, I'm from Mississippi. You know, but my biological father is from you know, Caribbean, so we kind of share a lot. You know, at least genetically. But I was
Right.
Black American, so I don't really, you know, you know, hog maws and greens, and cornbread. You know what I'm saying? Fighting on Christmas Day with that gin and Donald Duck orange juice in there about what happened in '76. You know what I'm talking about, baby. But I know you don't know
Donald,
nothing about that. You
the
don't know about
Donald,
them family.
the
Not
Donald
them
Duck.
family.
I remember that
Not
Donald
them.
Duck orange.
But ooh, and it don't really taste like orange juice should. They don't put that extra sweetener in there. No, that's that Donald Duck. You make you evil. And that
Yeah.
gin,
Oh yeah.
that Seagrams make them evil. But anyway, that's
Well,
another
what
subject.
they say, Jim make you sin.
Yeah, man. But, yeah, bro, I can go on and on about this, man. You know, it's just as an attorney, and I consider myself well, you know, by training, I'm a scientist.
Right.
Biology, worked on my master's in biology and a PhD in environmental molecular toxicology and environmental toxicology, and but I have my JD from Southern University, my bachelor's degree from biology, and from Grambling, and then an LLM, which is in environmental energy related law from Tulane. So I'm Ivy League educated and also HBCU educated.
Mm-hmm.
But I say all that to say I observe things. I
Right.
see things for what they are. I read, I observe, and I see the condition that our people are in. And unfortunately, because of the toxicity, and I'm gonna speak to you in, you know, from a toxicologist point of view,
Yeah.
it's the toxicity of the relationship that needs to be diffused.
Mm.
And the only way we can do that, in other words, and not Dr. but Neely Fuller says we need to get away from each other. You see? And I
Wow.
take that to mean that, and if you know Neely Fuller, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, what I take that to mean is we need to infuse people with healthy cultures into our culture so that it can remain.
Wow.
See, so I'm perfectly okay with my Black sister marrying a brother from Nigeria or Ghana, you know, as long as they have a healthy culture that's sustainable
Right.
at each other's throats. I'm perfectly happy with my brothers marrying sisters from South America or some of these other Caribbean places where the woman will come in and be a nurturer and caring and loving, because we need that. You brothers have been beaten up, just like myself. You've been beaten up and berated your whole life. The last thing you need is to be put in the house with another person that's dealt with that same thing, because that's just going to be trauma on top of trauma, and that's going to just lead to more fighting and whatnot. So just some things I think you all should think about. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but it's just some observations.
Observations.
You know what I'm saying, man?
Most definitely. Uncle
Yeah.
D,
Yes,
we
sir.
gotta go, but
Right,
tell us where
brother.
we can find you at. Tell us where folks,
Yeah.
man, can look you up.
Well, you know, if you've been in a car accident, you can find me at www.dennissperling.com. And if you've been in a check, I'll try to help you get it. If you've been in a wreck, I'll try to help you get a check. If you've been in a crash, I'll try to help you get some cash. But aside from that, man, you can find me on Facebook, Dennis Sperling. I'm on YouTube as Dennis Sperling Unfiltered. It sounds pronounced the way it sounds. But, you know, everybody's welcome. You know, I just be respectful on the page. I expect brothers to treat each other with respect. We don't do any name calling. And again, it's just an outlet for Black men to be able to speak. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of the ladies who come on my page and say, "Oh my God, this is amazing. I've learned where my father is coming from. I've learned how to deal with my brother better, and my grandfather and my husband. Oh my God, you don't know how you've helped save our relationship." I didn't do anything. I just let these brothers speak. You see,
Right.
I don't take credit for this, man. I give this, all credit goes to God.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just let the brothers speak. I know people will listen to me because I'm successful, quote unquote, you
Right.
know, in the eyes of this capitalist country that we live in.
Yeah, that's true.
But I use that to uplift brothers and let them speak. So you know, and hopefully it creates healing. Ladies, you're not gonna like everything that's said on my page. Brothers are venting and talking, just like we wouldn't like everything you all say when you go to them little girls' night outs and y'all start talking about all the stuff that your husband and your boyfriend aren't doing.
Right.
That's why y'all do it in private. Y'all do that so we don't hear it, and then you can get it off and then come back and then smile and whatnot. Same, but what I do is I don't hide it. See, we don't have the pool halls anymore. We don't have the barbershops. We don't have the games that we can go to where we can chop it up as men. We can't even sit out on the back porch without y'all coming in and invading. The old men used to go sit out in the field in the tree, under the tree with their chairs and talk and smoke and just talk it out. You see what I mean? But they can't do that anymore because you ladies don't let us have any space. So now I just say, oh, well, we'll just put it on Facebook. That way we're not hiding. You see?
Right. That's true.
Yeah, man. But don't come on there talking crazy because my block game is sick, girl. I was Hakeem Elijah one, you right up off of there. Simps, white supremacists, racists, all y'all, you know, strong black feminists. You got to go, man. Get you on up out of there, baby.
Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I said ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, Uncle D, once again, man, public service announcement to young males, the males in general, man. Hey, I enjoyed myself. I wish, man, we ain't run out of time.
Oh, man, don't worry about it, brother. And look, I'm speaking from a place of love. I love all y'all, man. I want to see you do well. God bless you.
Most definitely. Uncle D, what's burning on the bushes next?